Hello and welcome everyone to the Kindness Not podcast. Today is where we're going to talk about Marco's story, but we want to talk about what the podcast is about. This is where kindness replaces hate. We share real stories of struggle, resilience, and positivity, reminding us all that vulnerability is strength and kindness is what ties us together. I'm your host, Dereck. We have our co-host, as always, Gabriela Hernandez,
Hey y'all.
and our guest for today is Marco Ahumada. So, Gabby, can you? We haven't really touched so much on what the Kindness Knot is about and what the podcast is about. So, can you kind of give us a run through of what it's all about here?
Sure. We're going to go ahead and start off with the logo, the mission, and the goal. So, mainly the goal of this podcast is to bring positivity to the community through story sharing. We want the public to learn about overcoming challenges and obstacles. Our logo, up there, and right here, and right there, is it tells a story. Right? The light blue is aqua. The knot that you see is a Trinity knot. The Trinity knot represents inclusive community and unbreakable community. It also is wrapped around it is an orange heart. Orange was thought of because we started the initiative in the trunk or treats and stuff,
Oh,
giving out like
nice.
little candies and
Yeah.
asking the kids if they've been a bully or if they have been bullied.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
how the whole logo started.
Yeah.
So it definitely represents something. It represents love, inclusivity, and kindness. And our mission is pretty important here. So it's to actively combat hate, self-hate, bullying by promoting positivity through prevention, support, and collaborations. We provide resources, worksheets, and preventive techniques. But more importantly, we provide stories that inspire. The impact we want is to help diminish hate, racism, bullying, and domestic abuse by fostering a resilient community rooted in compassion and respect.
Beautiful.
Let's take it away, host.
Thank you for that, Gabby. So, today's guest is a dad, a husband, and one of the voices of Patterson. You've probably already seen online. And I believe you have a master's degree in yapping, right?
Yeah. That's you said master's. I was like, oh, whoa. Whose bio did you get?
Yeah. But
But yes, I'm a certified yapper for sure.
awesome. And so you go from supporting local businesses to raising awareness about important issues. But what makes Marco's story powerful is that it all started with a struggle. So today we're going to be diving in he turned that into a strength. So Marco, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and thank you guys for inviting me. And I'm super excited. I love the intro, and doing research on your guys' page before coming in. I was like, okay, we're gonna focus. There's gonna be a focus on bullying and whatnot. And I was like, and it took me all the way to my past, all the way to like when I had the overcoming some of my challenges, and I was like, you know what? I think probably everybody could relate. They've either been in a position where they were the bully and when they got bullied, and how, I'm a big believer that two things could be true at once, right? So yeah, I think when we dive in, there's been times that I've been a bully 100%, and then there's definitely times I've been bullied, and then kind of going into adulthood and navigating through adulthood, how sometimes those things don't change, but how through experience you become aware and you're able to kind of navigate through that and be more conscious when interacting with other people, and that's a big thing, is interacting with other people and community and communicating, so.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, like I always tell everyone, we're all just kids that grew up.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't really learn anything after you already graduate from
Yeah,
high school.
yeah,
You
yeah.
just kind of like stay the same. I mean, if you're not growing, you're dying, as the
Yeah,
saying goes,
yeah,
right?
okay.
So some people, when they stop learning, they're just like, all right, and they just the
Same
mannerisms that they
thing.
had when they were younger become more prevalent
Oh,
as they
yeah.
grow older,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if you're stubborn when you're at that age, you're gonna get even more
Yeah,
stubborn as you get older.
100%. Unless there's some kind of experience that changes it, right?
Yeah.
And I think through adulthood, you start experiencing things that maybe you were protected from in school. I know there's a lot that we can't be protected while we're in school, but in adulthood, they kind of just let us out free,
Right.
And then I remember when I started, there's I never pursued a formal degree, but I did go to college for some time. And when I learned you could just get up and walk away, like just because if I'm hungry, then like the level of free will changes, and through that is falling into those experiences, and hopefully those alter you or change you in the better way,
Right.
So
there's definitely pivotal moments
yeah,
that you go through, right?
Yeah.
That can change you or break you.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of times it's like how that saying goes, you'd be better off if you were worse off.
Yeah.
Because like what do they say, that pain is the father of transformation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I like that one.
So
put that on a pillow.
Yeah. Right? Not mine though. So let's get into your story a little bit, Marco.
Yeah.
So what was your biggest struggle growing up? What was it, and how did it shape you?
I didn't have the toughest childhood. I can't say that. My growing up, look, we went through the housing crisis. There was the recession and stuff like that, and I think that affected a lot of families growing up. So I think that's what, not only myself, but like people that I grew up with, there's a level of drive, even with my very close friends. There's a level of drive I see in everybody, and I think it's because nearly everybody went through like maybe a financial struggle, and we all know how financial struggles could lead to struggles within the house or something like that. My family, extremely loving, but they also had to handle the stresses of life during that time, so I think that, I don't want to say that like, oh, that scarred me and now I need to try to do this and this. No, it made me aware, and it made me understand the importance of foundation, and the importance of being motivated and trying to do well in life, whether that means career-wise, social-wise, family-wise, anyway, just finding your own kind of your goal, meeting your goals, right? But throughout elementary school and high school, there's bullies, and then there's also things that I had to, I self-reflection. You're trying to improve yourself. I just did a post recently talking about how I had a kind of like a speech impediment, or opportunity, right? And I remember, man, it could have been as early as first grade. I used to get pulled out of class with a guy that lived down the street from me. His name was Mitch, and he also had a speech impediment, apparently, I guess. One day they're like, hey, Marco, Mitch, let's come out, let's go over here, It's like, and at that time, I don't think it had anything to do. I didn't know it had anything to do with my speech. I thought I was just like this chosen one. Yeah. I got to go sit in this small office, probably, a very tiny office, and it had, a bunch of board games and books, and this super nice lady, I forget her name, but she would, correct me how I spoke, or told me to say it again, or I just want you guys to sit here for an hour, play board games, and talk to each other. As she's like taking notes in the corner. And at the time, I was so oblivious to it. And looking back now, I was like, okay, that's what that was. And I think as I was getting pulled, I think I specifically remember my mom explaining it to me, like they're just helping you, get over your stutter, get over your, I used to say things like, I don't even know what the proper word is, but instead of a cat, it was a caught, or maybe instead of like walrus, walrus, like things like that. But it wasn't like everything, it wasn't everything. And now growing up, I still carry some of that with me for sure. And I think I have undiagnosed adult ADHD, and I refuse to go and like talk to the doctor about it. I was like, I think it's my personality, let me just own it. But there's times where I get like overstimulated or super excited where I'll catch myself stuttering, or I'll catch myself. I think one thing that is like a coping mechanism, which when I posted about it, I also added clips of times when I'm recording and I'm just silent in the camera for like, I put the clips for like 15 seconds, but I'm probably standing in front of the camera for a minute. And it's because to avoid stuttering, I pause, and I just pause, and I'll whisper to myself. In some of those videos, you hear me whisper, like, I'll be like this. All right. Hey, Patterson. Okay. Hey, Patterson, and I think it's my coping mechanism since going from that. And yeah, I'm kind of proud of it, that's the way I handle it. And look, once Marco stops and is able to collect himself and remember what the heck he was talking about, or what he was trying to say, or what he wants the message to be, then he continues. And guess what? If he messes up, he just goes again. And if he messes up, he just does it again. And I will stand in front of the camera for 5 minutes for a 20-second clip if I have to. And at the end, cut, clip, and post, then it's done, but yeah, that's kind of something that shaped me. It's almost like a foreshadowing. Who would have known the guy that was getting pulled for his speech in first grade, second grade, is also the guy that is now known, at least locally, or at least hopefully the entire Central Valley has seen my stuff at some point, for yapping, for talking, so.
It's interesting how you say that you have a coping mechanism. So you had to sort of become reflective, introspective, whatever you want to call it, but take a hard look at yourself to see, like, well, what do I struggle with? How can I use this as something that will turn into a strength, right?
Yeah.
The first step in navigating a map is learning where you're at,
Yeah.
right? So I'm right here. I want to get over here. How can I get over there, right? So how did you learn that the whispering was what helped you?
It wasn't something that I was like, hey, you know what? Instead of stuttering, I'm just going to be quiet and then I'm going to whisper to myself. It wasn't strategic like that. I wish it was. That'd be pretty. I'd be like, look at what I've done, These are things that just like naturally happen. It's in my DNA now, that I think later on I discovered, like, hey, why do I pause? Like, why am I pausing? Or why do I talk to myself? The whispering thing, I didn't realize I did until like recently, until I was watching my videos and I'm like over there whispering. You'll see me walking into camera, because obviously I have like the long raw cuts on my phone, right? I'm walking into camera, and as I'm walking, I'm whispering, and I'm like, what am I saying? And I'm whispering, and I'm literally just like reciting what I'm about to say, or what I'm trying to say, or I'm trying to fix what I'm trying to say. That way when I turn to the camera, I'm like, hey guys, did you know we're doing X, Y, and Z, So that was, it's something I noticed after the fact. I'm like, that's okay. It's okay to do that, right? It's why wouldn't it be okay? This is my, some people talk in the mirror. I've tried to talk in the mirror. I remember when I was like for my professional career, when I was getting ready for interviews, I would talk in the mirror and whatnot. And I was like, this is silly. What the heck? And I just need to talk to myself. Yes.
It's preparation.
Yes.
Gearing yourself up, pumping yourself up.
Exactly. I talk to myself a lot. And it's not on purpose. I'll be in the car and I'm talking, I'm catching it. It's like, oh, am I talking to myself right now?
But you're like, let me hit record on this real quick so I could catch what I'm saying.
Exactly. And it's like, and again, this is all after the fact. I wish I could say I was more strategic about it. It's just, this is stuff that happens naturally, and then I see that it works, and it's like, why change it? Let's not change that. It's working, So that's kind of the attitude I have towards that. Not so much strategic, more natural, and I just own it. I think that's a lot of what's going on right now. I'm owning my personality. I'm owning the things, my passions, the things I like to enjoy. It helps that I get the positive feedback, on social media, because it makes me feel like, okay, it just makes you feel good, okay, well, what I'm doing that makes me feel good is also enjoyable by my audience. So that helps. But to get there, you have to go over that hump of nobody's watching you. But in order to get where you want to get, you still have to post that video. You still have to go out on the side of the road and run into a field. And we'll get into that in a little bit, I'm sure. But, the first time I started being like, you know what? I would hide and do these videos, right? If I was out in public, I was like in the middle of nowhere, literally,
When did you get confident enough? Was there ever a time that you were like, oh.
I always say when something ends up getting to a great point or a large point, like even if it's like a business that's like now this $1 million company that somebody created, it's the accumulation of a bunch of small successes or small things, right? So I can't say there is one thing that I was like, boom, I wake up and now I'm more confident now, but I think, because I've been making videos forever. I mean, don't Google my name, but you're gonna find some stuff on YouTube, all good stuff. Me and my wife, we're high school sweethearts, and so we went elementary school sweethearts, but we went through a time where we tried to be, that couple vlog page,
Oh, bloggers.
Yeah. So there's a couple vlogs out there.
The Patterson Ace family.
Yes, it literally. That's what I went to, like their events and everything. Yeah. So there's things like that. We had Vine when I was growing up. I started TikTok when it was still Musical.ly. I actually stopped TikTok because people made me feel weird for having a TikTok, because it's like, you're not, Charlie D'Amelio and Addison Rae are on there, and Marco, you're 22. These people all these kids on here are like 16, 17. You shouldn't be on there. Okay, I'll stop. I wish I didn't. Imagine where I would have been now. You know what I mean? And look how silly. I don't know about you guys, but my parents have TikTok. But my mom sends me 50 TikToks in a day. You know what I mean? So it's everybody's on TikTok now, and it's because
Derek's like, that's Gaby.
Yeah, it's like if I would have if I didn't stop, and I kick myself because the only reason why I stopped was because people made me feel weird for being on TikTok, and I deleted the app. Yes.
Yeah, they ruin stuff.
Yes,
Sometimes.
I know. But I can say once I started realizing like, hey, I think my TikToks are going a little locally viral, I called it. There's the algorithm is pushing it to actual Patterson people. I was like, you know what? I a couple positive comments and stuff like that. You know what? I want to shoot a video, and I think it'll resonate better with my audience if I'm out in public and they recognize that store in the background, they recognize the school in the background, something like that. I'm gonna go and I was driving into town. I'm gonna go into this field, and it's in a more populated area. It was right behind Mr. Car Wash, or right behind like what was it, like Walgreens area, and it was a high traffic area. People were washing their cars, getting Chipotle and stuff like that. I was like, screw it. I put my tripod up on the road. I ran into the field, and people, I see people looking at me. And I was like, they'll like, comment, and share the video when it's posted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then after that, then I'm like, that video did amazing. I think it did really good because some of the information was inaccurate, but it did really good. I've since corrected it, but it did really good. And from there, it just helped me boost my confidence. And I hate to say that's a piece of why I'm able to continue to do what I do, but in reality it is. It feels good to be recognized. It feels good to make stuff that people enjoy, and it does motivate you. That's not the base of it, but it does help,
Yeah.
So
It's good information too. So
yeah, thank you.
kudos.
Yeah, I think you made great progress on all your. I've seen like some of your older videos
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
progression from what it was
Yeah.
before to what it is now. It's
Yeah.
You've grown a whole lot.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's so cool to see that someone that may have had I'm just gonna say speech impediment.
Yeah.
That someone that had a speech impediment that wasn't known for speaking well is speaking so well in front of thousands of people, because your videos get a lot of views.
Yeah.
So, and then going back to that, what do you think was what caused the speech impediment? Did it get worse as you got nervous, or just in case someone's listening that can relate to you?
I don't think something caused it. I think when I was getting pulled from class in elementary school, I think it was just a thing. I'm not sure what caused it. Maybe it goes deeper than it just being my speech. I do notice there's things that I do or I don't do to kind of suppress it a little bit. For example, I can't read off a script. If I read off a script, I get extremely nervous. And I do so because if I skip something, then I'm like, oh, I gotta go back. And I think that's where my mind starts racing, and I start thinking about other things. And then as I'm reading, I'm like, wait, what am I even talking about? But wait, I've gotten this far down my script. My audience knows what I'm talking about. But wait, am I not being passionate enough? So I started taking notes and making sure I'm touching on different things. And everybody gets nervous. I would assume everybody gets nervous. Any public speaker, that I've met in person say, oh, we're nervous before we go up. Who's not nervous about standing in front of a bunch of people? And in my cameras, even though it's just me and my camera, sometimes I know I'm now aware that it's touching thousands of people, the thing with video is that you're able to cut and edit and stuff. So, make yourself look better. Yeah. It's like, oh wait, there's some videos I posted like, nobody told me something was in my teeth. Well, nobody told you, Marco, because you're alone in a field, But yeah, it's there's things like that I'll do to kind of mitigate it, but it's always there. And I think when I have a million things going on, which I feel like in my head I always do, like we addressed, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I have a professional career, I'm doing this, I got DMs coming in left and right related to like the social media thing too. I got friends, I got all these things that I'm trying to make sure I appease in life, and so right now I'm thinking, I'm doing this, but in my mind I'm like, what am I gonna do with my boys today, because this is my first day off in a couple of days, or you know what, my wife probably needs to go get her nails done because she's been holding down the fort for the past week because I'm out there making TikTok videos, So there's millions of things that kind of get me off track. And I think when maybe I stutter or I have to take my long pauses, it's caused because I have other things going on in my head. And that's not a bad thing, but I think that's what kind of I guess you could say inflames it, so that's probably where it stems from. And then I had a buddy of mine that says he used to stutter too. He's like, no, it's because our brains move faster than our mouths. So I was like, that makes me sound smart. We'll do that. We'll go with that one. And it could be, who knows? It could be. I haven't looked too far into it, like on the medical aspect or the psychological aspect. I just know something I have, and this is how I navigate through it.
Now, was there were you being pulled out of your class for a long period of time, like a year, 2 years, or was it just kind of like a season in
no, it wasn't a season, but it was probably for a couple years, I want to say, early on, so I could, for a fact, it started in first grade, I know that, and probably went for a couple years after that, and not that it went away, but
were the kids in your class like wondering where you would go? Would you get
I'm
bullied
sure.
about it? Like,
no, I don't think I would get bullied about it. I think people would point out like, hey, he says caught instead of cat, or something like that.
Yeah.
But we were so young that like in first grade, not that bullying doesn't exist, but it's different, right? Maybe it's less malicious. Kids say mean things, but they don't know they're saying mean things. Yeah, they don't realize it. I think once you get into higher grades, then people are saying things to hurt you, But I think at that time it was kind of, I had already created my coping mechanisms with it, As far as bullying growing up, I would be bullied because I love to talk, I would be the one to raise his hand in class, not because I had the answer, because I was trying to say something smart, you know what I mean? And even in adulthood, I'll be on conference calls. It's like, oh, Marco's going to talk on the call again. Or like, oh, of course, Marco has a question, or Marco wants to say something.
Does that bug you a little?
Oh, it does. If anything irks me a little bit, it's that. So what I tell, what I do for a living, I manage a team of people, and part of our job is to talk, is to interact and and communicate with clients and whatnot. And I created a team of a bunch of young adults, and I said, having a mouthpiece, speaking, being outgoing is now considered a superpower. It's a talent. It's something that not everybody has. Right. And sometimes people that are maybe build an anxiety over public speaking, or don't like to be center of attention, or don't like to, have all eyes on them, are going to make you feel weird for having small talk at the cash wrap, or saying hi to somebody you're just walking by in the parking lot. But doing that is a superpower now. It's so rare, where when people are like, Marco has something to say again. Well, yes, I do. What are we doing here? What are we doing here if we're not talking to each other? Go home. It's like, if you don't want to talk, you don't have to talk. I'll do the talking. It's fine, And I was made to feel like, oh, Marco wants to be center of attention. Marco wants all eyes on him. He wants to run the show. And back then I would be like, no, that's not the case. Sure it is. 100%. I had a conversation with somebody with another nonprofit, and I said, everybody wants attention. Maybe they don't want to go and get it themselves. They don't want to be on the one to stand on the stage and say, but everybody wants attention. And I think that's that's happening with when I post these videos. I have businesses that reach out to me. I have politicians that reach out to me. I have organizations that reach out to me. And why? Because they want to share my attention. I went out there and I stood on the fields and I spoke, and they want attention. And it's not a bad thing. Attention is not a bad thing. To want it is not a bad thing. To want to be on the, let me bring this back to our good guest here in Patterson, Jack Black, right? Shout out Jack in the Box. No, but he was in a podcast, and he was in an interview where they were walking in public, right? Like they were on a hike. It was like the theme of the podcast, right? And then fans stopped him and asked to take a picture and sign something, and then he continued the podcast. Like it was all in one shot. They didn't cut it out. And the host was like, do you like that? You can't go out anywhere and you can't just go on a walk and without somebody stopping you? He's like, I love it. He said, any celebrity, and I'm not a celebrity, I'm not trying to say that, but any celebrity or anybody, any movie star or anybody like that, if they say they don't like the attention, they're lying. That they love the attention. That's what they do, because without that attention, they can't do what they want to do. And I'm gonna be honest, I can make videos to make myself feel good, but if I'm not getting views, if I'm not getting comments, if I'm not getting interactions, how long can I really do it until it doesn't make sense anymore? It would be different if I was telling my wife, hey, I'm gonna go out for an hour and run into a field or run to this business and do a video for them, and at some point she's like, Marco, you're getting no views. Like what you're just leaving the house, rather than making an impact. So yes, in short answer, yes, that's one thing that extremely bugs me when anybody makes, not just myself, but anybody makes anybody else feel like they're silly or they're weird for wanting to speak, to for wanting to perform, for wanting to be center of attention just for that moment. You know what I mean?
It's like it's not my problem, it's theirs.
Yes, exactly.
That's
That
what it is, right?
tells us more about that individual than yourself or the person that's trying to express themselves. You know, so.
We all have to be mindful and respectful of one another, right?
Yeah,
Because
of course.
our brains are wired differently.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Now, Marco, I'm super curious about what you were like growing up. In a sense, what was your personality? Were you the hyper kid? Were you super shy? What was your personality like?
Oh, so when I graduated high school, I was lucky to have won two. What do they call it? Senior, when they seniors vote or whatnot for like class clown or anything like that.
Okay, yeah.
So I won most energetic and I won most spirited. And they told me how to pick, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to go down in history for the most energetic. What the heck is that?" You know? I said, "Well, this guy was sipping on Celsiuses before in second period, right?" But so I went with most spirited. Yes, I loved. I was the one that would get sent to the office for talking during class. You know, I would be the one that would be, all eyes on me. Let me make a joke type thing. There's definitely, I did it in different ways where I think I was respectful, but there's times that, I would get into some serious trouble for just like yapping, for the most part, I was never disrespectful, but it was just, I just couldn't. For the most part. Yeah, there's been times, but that's who I was. I was a flag boy in high school, so I used to, and this was like, there wasn't a flag boy. It wasn't something you tried out for. One day I was like, let me grab this flag and let me just run during the games. Let me paint my face and stuff like that. And so even till this day, people are like, hey, wait, he used to be flag boy, right? I was on the newspaper. I was on the cover of a yearbook. So I was super involved. I wasn't in leadership, but I say I was highly affiliated with leadership. And the only reason why I wasn't in leadership was because also my other passion is like running business and managing business, and so I was in a business class that managed the student store, and I was like the manager of the student store. I got a PDA award. Instead of public display of affection, it was public display of awesomeness, because I used to go super early. I used to be an early bird, super early, open up the student store just for the heck of it. I would go meet up with my teacher, Mr. Gordon, and I'm still in close contact with him now. Definitely a mentor of mine throughout those years in high school. And I would go get the key from him in the morning, open it up, blare the music super loud, and I'll serve like coffee, And so it was awesome.
You were adulting.
Yeah, I know. I think back, I was like, why was I trying to like be so like in charge back then? Like, oh yeah, I managed the student store. It's like, oh, how much do you get paid? No, I don't get paid. It's like, oh, how many points do you get? Oh, I don't get nothing from it. I just like blaring the music. They got a speaker in there, that. So
yeah, there you go.
So that's kind of who I was. I wasn't super athletic. I did run track for a year. I did try out for the basketball team, didn't make it. So I wasn't super athletic. And even till these days, like you ask me, I'll wear a Raider hat. They're like, oh, did you see the game? I'm like, yeah, I did. And they're like, yeah, what did you think about it? I was like, man, I'm just kidding. It's just a hat. My dad was raised in Oakland. That's why I'm rocking. I wear a Raiders hat or A's hat. They're like, oh, you like the A's? Well, I'm so-and-so, like asking about points or anything like that. I was like, oh, no, my dad was just raised in Oakland. That's why I wear the hat. It's like,
this is a fashion choice.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. That's what it is. And it's funny. There's some days I'm like, I can't wear a hat. I can't wear this sports hat because I know somebody's going to ask me or something, But yeah, it's a fashion choice. 100%. That's the idea behind it.
Now, it's interesting how you're super energetic now. It seems like you were energetic back then, at the very least spirited, right?
Yeah.
And you still had a struggle. What do you think it would have been like differently if you would have had the same type of struggles, but without that energy, without maybe a support group?
Oh, yeah.
Friends?
Yeah, that's a good question. And this is all thinking like hypothetically, right? Because that's not the case, but I could imagine it would be crippling, right? Imagine not having the energy or a level of natural confidence. Maybe it's not natural. There has to be a reason why I was like, let me go out there, Yeah, I mean, if I didn't have that, maybe I would have never attempted to overcome a speech impediment, and where would I be now? I could say, again, like I said, public speaking and just having small talk and being able to interact with humans is a superpower now. Unfortunately, it's a superpower now. is 100% or greatly what my personality is. You know, when people meet me, I hope in one way they could describe me is that he likes to talk, he's outgoing or anything like that. So that is me. So saying like, if I didn't have that confidence or I wasn't, you know, passionate about just yapping or talking, I don't know where I would be. Professional wise, relationship wise, family wise, I have no idea where I would be. Cause like I said, I wasn't the most athletic. I wasn't the most, I need to give myself some credit. You know, I didn't like school. I was gonna say I'm not the most intelligent. I'm pretty intelligent, but you know what I mean. I wasn't the most studious. You know, where those are normally things that people utilize to get far in life. You know, some people could be super quiet introverts, but be super smart and establish a decent life or a very well life. You know, where I lean more on my personality and my communication skills, and I think you could get far. And I always say with my kids, I have a 3-year-old boy and a 1-year-old boy. And I said, look, they don't need to be the most athletic and they don't have to have straight A's. One thing I do want them to have is a mouthpiece. I want them to be able to talk and I want them to have the confidence to talk. My 3-year-old, since he was 2 years old, he was paying out the cash wrap on his own. He was saying when we walk into a store, a convenience store, it's like, hi, how are you doing? You know, or okay, say good day, have a good day, you know, things like that, where now it's natural to him, you know? Where that makes me more proud than if he was able to like hit a baseball right now. You know what I mean? So that's kind of that to answer the question. It's I don't know. I don't know where I would be. I would imagine it would be crippling. And what does that lead to? Probably like falling into like a depression. I could only imagine. I mean, maybe that says a lot if I didn't have the confidence or I didn't have the willingness to speak like this and I didn't have anything else to lean on. Oh, I feel like that would be one depressing Marco, you know? Yeah.
I think it highlights the importance of a social group, of a support group for someone.
Yeah.
You know, we're as humans, we're social creatures. You know, we need to have a community there.
Yeah.
So you were lucky enough to have one,
Yeah.
right? And so we hope that everyone out there, if you're isolated, if you're struggling making friends, try it at least.
Yeah.
You know, talk to someone. And leading into my next question, now as a yapper,
Yeah.
I'm sure you get a whole bunch of criticism because you're essentially becoming vulnerable. You're exposing yourself to all these people, right?
Yeah.
So I know that you get criticism.
Yeah.
How did you face that when you were younger? Because I'm sure they were like, Marco, shut up.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
You respond with, no, you shut up. You know,
No,
but
you.
There's different times. There's times that like, you know, oh man, I did a video. So before I started to, I guess you could say, get a little bit more professional with my content, you know, to grow my audience on TikTok, unfortunately, you just have to be like very reactive and like post whatever and like very like ranting clips and stuff like that. And I remember I did it, you know, I think I recorded a video and I had the camera facing the wrong way. And so I wasn't able to use it. And I was like, you know what? I'm like ranting. Maybe whenever there's like an issue with my video or my audio and I can't use it, I say maybe God's saying, don't post this. You are not meant to post this, you know? And it's funny because there's times I would ignore that and shoot again and there's something else that's wrong. I was like, okay, that's two times already. No. Yeah. But there was this time, and this is like a specific example, but there's this time where I was in class and I was acting goofy. It was right before class and I was, and I don't recommend anybody to do this. I'm not proud of this, but it was who I was. And I was jumping from chair to chair on top of desks and stuff. And you know, it was the old school desk with the table wraps around. Yeah. I think there's a proper name for it, but I was jumping from, and guys, I was like a sophomore, a junior. I shouldn't have been doing that. And I was probably the same height as I am now, like 6 foot even. So what am my tall butt doing that, you know? And I remember there's this guy, and he was definitely an introvert. He's a little bit of a gangster guy. You know, the high school, I graduated from West High in Tracy. And there was a time that it was a rougher school. And then, I mean, that's a long story, but it got cleaned up. But because of the principal to add him, because I'm kind of working with the school district over there now as well, is my principal for my senior year came from another high school. He then later became the superintendent of the school district, and he's now the superintendent for all of San Joaquin Valley School District, which is amazing. But so this was before it kind of got cleaned up by him. You know, there's this guy that sat in the back, and he just looked at me one day. He was like, "You're annoying." And I was like, you know, and he's like, no, he's like, you're hella annoying. like sit down, you're annoying, you know? And I'm thinking, I was like, oh man, I'm just trying to have a good time. You know what I mean? And I think something like that, where when I'm genuinely just having fun or a good time and somebody calls me out like that, I think I don't know how to react to it right away, where I'll just get a little quiet, you know? I'm like, oh, maybe and you know, and sometimes that's okay. I feel like having social awareness is important too. You know, hey, look, the audience isn't feeling it right now. You know, let me not suppress who I am, but let me read the room and let me understand, okay, hey, this isn't a joking time, you know, because sometimes it's not okay to be, you know, joking or funny or stuff like that. You know, you have to find your windows, you know, where, yeah, there's times like that. That's just an example, but times like that, where I'm a little taken back and I wasn't prepared for it. And I'm like, oh man, okay, wait, I don't know how to feel about that, you know, and now, that conversation would have been different. I have a little bit more confidence now, you know, or there's times that like people are just being mean and I recognize, hey, you're just being mean. I don't feel like it's bad for me to speak up, you know? And you never want to be too confrontational, but you do want to speak up. I think part of handling bullying is, you know, people need to be kind. I think that's very important too. And through adulthood, I think I found the power of being kind to just anybody, you know? But you also have to speak up for yourself and don't let people step on you or whatnot. And sometimes that's as simple as just speaking up. You know, people are like, well, I'm not confrontational. I want to get in a fight. Nobody says you have to do all that now. But speak up, saying, hey, you know, I learned the power of eye contact. You know, you look at somebody in the eye and you're like, hey, I don't like how you did that. You know, or hey, please don't do that. That makes that other person feel so uncomfortable that they will never talk to Marco like that again, because Marco is going to kind of put me on the spot and question my personality or my kindness or my intent, and that makes me feel icky. I'm never going to do it again. Sometimes that's just enough, you know.
And that even works for adults, right?
Yeah,
that works for adults and coworkers and different settings.
Yeah.
So I love that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
So I definitely can resonate with that. You know, looking people in the eye, or just, you know, not confronting them like you just mentioned, but speaking up and letting them know how you feel.
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's so simple, because the people that are making fun probably have a vulnerability in themselves, and they do this to compensate for it, right? And it really is the smallest thing, you know. It's like, if we talked in the physical aspect, it's almost like just like tapping them in the shoulder and them falling down. You know, it's like, hey man, that's not cool. I don't like it. You know, that's it. You know, like, and they'll probably say, oh man, I'm just joking. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, well, look, good. I'm glad it was just a joke. You know, and then the room will be quiet. You're like, well, I'm gonna go home now.
Now, something interesting that you brought up is when that cholo guy brought it up to your attention, like, you're annoying, man. It was kind of like one of those comments that it wasn't super offensive, but it's something that lingered. And in the same way that someone can plant a seed in someone, saying like, you know what, you're a great person, this is that, and then maybe later on they'll think about it. A person can also plant a bomb that later on during the day, you're like, maybe something that you stub your toe on the side of the furniture, and you're like, oh, I'm not annoying. Like,
exactly.
Out of nowhere, right?
And
so the things that you say to people can have a lasting effect.
Very true.
Now, was there any other names that people called you that may have lingered that you had trouble dealing with?
Yeah, like I said, people are mean, you know. And look, I have to take accountability. I've done mean things too, you know. Let me address the mean things that I've done, you know. I mean, I'm sure there's more to count, right? But I remember specifically, I was in this specific English class. Oh, now I think about it, it's kind of more foreshadowing. I was in this like this elevated English reading and writing class, right? And I feel like that class actually helped shape me. And there was a buddy of mine who was in a grade higher than me that was in that class too, but we sat on separate sides of the classroom, and now we're like the best friends, you know. But nonetheless, I was in this class, and there's another girl that was in this class that I went to elementary school, right? And she used to get made fun of because of her weight, right? I won't even share the names that we used to call her, but I was part of that. 100% I was part of that. I was an instigator at some point in grade school. And we were in this high school English class. We would find controversial topics and write about them and pick a side, left or right, and supportive. And it kind of helps you build, for lack of a better words, like how to build a good argument. You know, I love that class, and I feel like that's why sometimes when I go up and maybe I speak at a city council meeting, you know, I'll ask these questions to confirm my mindset and stuff. So it all prepared me to be confident, or to just like at least speak on an educated level on topics. And maybe you guys see that through my videos. But nonetheless, this one is about bullying or being mean or something, or suicide awareness or something like that, right? And this girl, she was being very vulnerable, and she shared her story, and she said, yeah, you know, I used to get made fun of my weight, but people don't understand. My parents, they were always working, or they weren't able to cook healthy meals, and so we ate a lot of fast food, and that's why I became overweight, and so on. And people used to make fun of me for it. And she's like, even times where I thought, like, why am I even here? You know, why am I even on this planet? And, you know, she starts breaking down in class, and she's like, I considered suicide and stuff like that. And I'm just sitting in the back of the class, like, I know I'm not the only one, but like, I was part of that. Like, I for sure was part of that. I was one of the needles that were poking her. And it just made me understand, like, whoa, what you say is you're just trying to get some laughs, how horrible you can make somebody feel. And when they go home, you don't know what they're going home to. But I also have to acknowledge, I was young. I didn't understand that. I didn't have enough life experience. I was innocently ignorant. And I use that word a lot. I was innocently ignorant to these matters, right? And I think from that moment in high school, it made me aware. Now, talking about specific moments, that made me aware, like, hey, no, we have to be kind. We don't know what people are going home to. And having a voice and being confident to stand up in a room and make mean jokes, you have this level of energy where you could also use that for good and stand up in front of a room and make somebody feel good. And I think ever since then, that's been my goal. Unless you're mean, then I can say some mean things too. I keep that in my back pocket. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I have to acknowledge there was situations like that. That was probably the worst of it. Other than that, I'm just like poking fun at people or whatnot. But it goes back and forth, like I said. Now, things that I was made fun of growing up, you know, I was always a thin guy. You know, I've now owned my thin. I say my body type is like my jeans, it's slim fit.
I'm right
you know?
there with you.
Yeah. So I used to get made fun of being thin. I also liked fashion. You know, I loved clothing, and that kind of aligns with my career now, but. There was a time where skinny jeans were a thing, and
Too skinny jeans.
yeah, oh man, I had the tightest ones, man, I tell you.
And purple and green.
That was my next comment. I remember this specific outfit that could define me in grade school. Some super skinny jeans, like a matte gray color, you know. Then I would have these bulky etny shoes. You know, I never skateboard. I couldn't skateboard. I told you I wasn't athletic, right? Bulky shoes. Then I have a purple deep V-neck, and I always had my hair done in a specific way. And then I had these Ray-Ban sunglasses, you know, and I would probably have a couple wooden chains on me and stuff like that. So
little wooden balls.
Yeah, like
cross,
rosaries. Yeah. So. Things like that. So I would get make fun of, you know, looking like I'm flamboyant, or that I maybe, you know,
no snapbacks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure snapbacks.
Snapback.
Oh, I
had
had
a snapback on the belt.
Oh, in high school I had half of my hair was blonde, and I had it in a faux hawk that went into a little tail, and so the snapback had the little tail hanging in the back. So oh yeah, all that 9 years. So there's a point where, you know, people said like, oh, you like boys and all this stuff, you know, things like that.
To you, it was probably like just trend setting, huh? Like
yeah, I liked clothes, and I was
fashion.
like, I thought this was cool, and so you know,
was like 2010s era.
Yeah. So 2008, 2009, 100%. I'm thinking like before 8th grade and stuff, and so I used to get made fun of, or I would my personality or my humor was like, you know, acting flamboyant or stuff, and people, you know, and understandably they thought like, oh, he likes boys, blah blah blah, and so it used to be a consistent thing where it always stuck with me, like, oh, Marco's this skinny guy, and you know, he might be gay and stuff like that. And back then, you have to understand, back then it wasn't cool to be gay. It wasn't, not that it's cool now, but it wasn't okay to.
It was bad.
It was bad. It was a slur, you know, and using the word gay was a regular thing to say something was bad, you know. That's completely changed now, obviously, but there was a time, and it was just, I want to say it was like at the end of that era where there wasn't Pride Month, or you couldn't come to school with a pride flag. It was a totally different time, you know. So you have to understand that if somebody called me that now, I'd be like, yeah, even if I was, what does that have to do? Yeah, you know, even if I was, but back then it was like, that was like for anybody and everybody. It was that wasn't okay. They're basically telling you you're dirt, you're bad, you know. A horrible time, you think, in that social setting. But those are things that stuck with me, you know, and that it was always like a bother. And I, you know, even coming to adulthood, I was like, oh, I have to go to the gym, and I struggle with weight gain and this and that. And I used to be afraid to go to the gym because, like, oh my God, all these bodybuilders are going to be looking at me. And now I tell people that are like, hey, yeah, man, I'm trying to go to the gym, but, you know, I can't lift that much, and like everybody's looking at me. It's like, first off, nobody's looking at you at the gym.
No one is.
Take your AirPods off, and the gym is dead quiet, right? Everybody's in their own world. Everybody feels like everybody's looking at them, so they're not making any eye contact. And then on top of that, everybody is at the gym trying to get better. That buff dude in the gym was once not buff, you know. Somebody with maybe the perfect body didn't have the perfect body when they first went in, you know. And so these are things that even in adulthood still stuck with me. But I think through having confidence and through experience, like we were talking about earlier, you understand, like, oh, wait, just own what you are. And yeah, it's okay to want better if that's what your definition of better is, but don't stress about it. You know, don't stress about it. It's not who you are. You know what I mean? And if you want something, just work towards it. You know, I would want to be the buffest guy. No, I don't know if I would want to be the buffest guy, but you know, I do want to be healthy. There's times there was a time where I you know, my weight dropped to a certain weight that to a certain level where I was like, you know what, I felt unhealthy. Something about what was going on was I was unhealthy, and it went beyond me just being a thin guy, where I was like, okay, I got to get in the gym, I got to start eating better, and I did, and it was great. And but the thing is, I don't stress. I don't go to the gym for 2 hours at a time. No. I go in, get my 30-minute, 45-minute workout max. I don't want to build a bad relationship with it, you know. Same thing with eating. I don't overeat or try to stuff myself. I don't want a bad relationship with eating, you know what I mean? So yeah, there were things that kind of, I mean, for me to even bring them up now means that, yeah, I'm talking about like 7th, 8th grade, high school, you know, this is like over 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Yeah. So obviously it does resonate with me, but in a way where it's like, oh, those people were silly. And I'm thinking about what kids were saying to kid Marco, and how can I make that better? And how can I use my platform now to make people feel better about themselves and understand, like, hey, it's not that serious. Yeah. Don't make it that serious. It's only as serious as you're taking it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And maybe you just have to, sometimes you have to leave the room, you know?
Sometimes the things that happen to you when you're 16 will stay with you until you're 60.
Yeah.
Right?
I bet.
And one of the things that I noticed, how people questioned or took into question your masculinity.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like, or from my observation, that kind of drove you into the gym. Like, how can I be more of a man? But you found a healthy medium, because obviously you didn't become the next Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, no. You don't think so? I mean, I thought I was getting there.
You're pretty close, man. I don't know. Yeah, I thought you were the governor. Just walked in. Nope. But you know, it did drive you to somewhat better yourself, right?
Yeah.
And where did you find that healthy medium? Because you could have very well just either gone the opposite way, where it's like, no, I'm going to be the manliest man there is, or not become your authentic self, or you could have gone just a depressive state.
Yeah, you know, I think just there's some things that I just can't explain, and for a lot of people it's like, well, why do you enjoy singing? It's like, I don't know, I just do, you know. Or so it's like, I've always been very optimistic, so it's like, well, why did you take it in a positive way? I just don't know how to take it in a negative way. It would take more effort for me to think of something in a negative way than it would to take a positive spin on it, where it's something where, like, when I decided to start going to the gym, it was something where it started affecting me in a different way, and it had nothing to do with people calling me thin. It was like, hey, okay, no, now I just don't feel good. You know, I don't feel. I wake up, I'm tired. You know, I'm having trouble moving a box. I don't know. You know, like, maybe I do need some exercise or something like that. You know, but it's doing something. Well, let me back up. I think it's okay to consider people's feedback, even if it's mean feedback. It's okay to consider. You don't have to act on it or listen to it in a way of like, well, this person called me this at dinner and now I have to do this. No, but it's okay to consider it. Keep it in your mind, you know? And then look, if enough people are like, hey, Marco, your hair's looking crazy. And like, you know, then maybe you'll be like, is it looking crazy? nah, I like it. It's me. Or it's like, oh, you know what? I know what they're talking about. You know, imagine if right now I still had half blonde hair with a ponytail and stuff like that. You know, I might have came in with a couple comments, be like, hey, your hair's looking a little unprofessional. You know, I don't know, you know? Yeah, no, but
blonde hair.
oh, no. I had like a full on, my mom, we were in the thing, my mom had that, what do we call that? Blue bleach stuff. But like all down here, I had a buzz cut that then grew into a faux hawk. Oh, I'll find pictures. You guys will plug them into the video. I'll find them. There's I don't know if you know New Boys.
Yeah.
I was New Boys. You know.
You're a jerk.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. I was probably in the high school courtyard jerking too. Yeah. It was crazy, but yeah, I mean, it's just like you grow from it. You know, you grow from it. And
I love what you just mentioned, optimism, because a lot of people are not optimistic.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that
yeah.
could play a huge role in your life.
Yeah.
If you see, I the way I view like my life throughout like I grew up in Oakland, till I was 18 years old, but I was always optimistic.
Yeah.
I was always like seeing the silver lining and
Yeah.
things, right? And I didn't really like grow up in like you say like the ghetto or the
Yeah,
rough
yeah.
area or whatnot. But having optimism and being positive
Yeah.
is really like why I feel like I went through life just navigating things and I got where I am because of that.
Yeah.
Right? Being optimistic, being positive.
Yeah.
And just getting married, going to college, buying my home, having my kids, raising, my kids to the best of my ability and my husband's ability. And I feel like that was my drive.
Yeah.
Being that optimistic person.
Yeah.
And we can get in a rut or be negative about things and just become depressed or become someone that we don't want to become.
Yeah.
Right. So I love that you just mentioned that. And I think that's really good for the audience as well
Yeah.
to take that.
Yeah. It's because why not? We're here.
Right.
We're here already. And what are we going to do? We're just going to sit in our problems and our opportunities and our issues. We're just going to sit here and just like, oh, life sucks because of all this. No, how are we going to get out? How are we going to get out of it? How are we going to own it? How are we going to make it our own? Look, what's one of the biggest things that we hear? I don't know. I know you guys been in Patterson for some time, but like when I moved out here, it's like, dude, you're living in the middle of nowhere. Hey, there's nothing to do out there. Hey, you're cow town. It's like I never seen a cow in my life out here. You know what I'm saying? It's all the way out there. But it's like, yeah, I could be like, oh yeah, no, I live in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing to do out here. No, we're gonna make some things happen, or we're gonna own it. Or I made a video. People were eating me in the comments, but this is the next Palm Springs we're in, so there's so much potential. We could do it, and that's part of the reason why I get so involved,
But I see it that way too.
Yeah,
like
100%. It's beautiful out here.
Driving down, a spur, you're like, these palm trees are beautiful, and when they put those lights in, during wintertime, you're like,
oh yes,
this is nice. I take videos down. Well, okay, maybe not driving and taking videos, but
I do.
my dash cam. And I'm just like, this is a beautiful town.
Yes, 100%. And there was a time, and I think I was lucky to realize this in my early adult years, was you have to find the beauty in the mundane things, right? And if you don't, that's where people start falling into, oh, this isn't the life I thought I had. Trust me, I thought I was going to be rich and famous at 19 years old. Doing what? I don't know. I just thought I was going to be rich and famous, That it didn't happen. I don't know. Tonight I might
There's still time?
Tonight I might win
this airs,
$1 billion.
viral.
Yeah. Well, I think I have a lotto ticket. I think $1 billion. I'm going to be at least rich by the end of today. So
Nice.
so we'll have to catch that in. But
Don't forget about us.
Yeah, I won't.
501c3. So.
Yeah.
Not perfect here.
But I found like, hey, look, I'm going to be in a rut. No matter what, I have to work for a living. We all do for the most part, right? And look, this is I think I was going to school full time and working full time at this given moment. And I was like, I had to find beauty in the mundane. I'm lucky to be able to come in and go to work with the AC and, I'm not doing any crazy hard labor, and I'm lucky to be able to go to the school that's a nice school and try to get an education. I'm lucky to be able to be in my car that I'm driving, everything's I'm fortunate, People are like, oh, you crazy commute. I commute to the Bay Area. Oh, crazy commute. I would never want to do that. It's beautiful. Yeah. Take a look to the right. Look at those hills. And in the wintertime coming up in the fall, it's going to be all green. Beautiful. Oh, you only have a Walmart. it's a nice Walmart. It's the nicest Walmart I've been to, you know?
There you go.
Same thing with the palm trees going down Sperry. These are beautiful things, and being able to wake up and have a lazy day or just walk to the park. These are things I was just explaining to somebody on my live. And this all kind of just talks about being optimistic, right? There's somebody that went onto my Instagram or TikTok live last night, and he was talking about what was he saying? Something about just living in the area. You know, I'm nervous to come to Patterson. I'm originally from Antigua, but I wanted to purchase. It's more affordable out here, and I'm nervous to come here. I said, well, why are you nervous? Oh, I don't know. There's nothing to do out there, and then I don't know the town too much. I was in the same part, but don't be nervous that there's nothing to do. If you find yourself, I knew it was time for me to move when I found myself always trying to leave the house. Me and my wife were always trying to book a vacation, or we're always trying to go to our friend's house to have a barbecue. We're always trying to get out of the house, and it wasn't until that's when we knew, okay, it was time to expand, get a bigger place, something a yard. I was living in the condo, so I didn't have a yard, I didn't have my garage, and things like that, where we knew that was time. And now, I have to make excuses not to go on vacation or not to go out because I'm like, hey, just come to my house. Because you fall in love with your daily life. If you find yourself always trying to leave your daily life, well, maybe you need to stop focusing on planning your next vacation and start focusing on constructing your life or your daily tasks in a different way where they become more enjoyable, or at least change your mindset to make them understand that everything that you're doing in the day, even this tough stuff, is a blessing.
Right.
Yeah, well, if they're asking you, what are you doing this weekend, Marco? Well, I'm enjoying my mortgage.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, well, come on, come out. No. My mortgage also has a price tag. I can't go out right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what you say is it resonates with a lot of people, I believe. And there happens to be a very thin line between being happy and being insane.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you take that line and you jump through with it.
You're
just jump roping with it. Because on one hand, you can be happy, positive about as many things as you can be, even throughout negative comments.
Yeah.
But you can also be insane. So, if someone, you got to accept some type of feedback,
right?
Yeah. So when someone says, Marco, there's something in your teeth. No, there's not.
Yeah, exactly. I thank you for touching on that, because there are times that it's almost delusional to be optimistic about certain situations. Sometimes things get so bad in life that to say, well, this is a learning lesson. No, sometimes this goes beyond this. This just sucks. Sometimes life just sucks, and it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to be down, and it's okay to be depressed sometimes. But let it be a moment and build from it. But it's okay. We're I wouldn't say I'm doing soft parenting exactly, but we do use our words with our children that you're sad. It's okay to be sad right now, but let's get out of it now, But so same thing with life. It's okay to say hey, no, this sucks. I'm just not having a good day. Yeah. And you don't always have to be optimistic, because like I said, I remember there's a time that I snapped. I mean, snapped on myself. Nothing crazy. Where there's just a lot of stresses of life. We're just piling up at a specific time, where I was like, it would be delusional for me to still come to work and act happy. The stuff I'm dealing with right now, it would be delusional. If anybody else was dealing with this, they would crack. Let me crack a little bit, and then tomorrow I'll come in and everything will be better. It's part of life. It's feelings are valid, and sometimes you got to let them let them in. I think especially with being a man, right? We say we can't cry, we can't be sad, we have to brush it off. Yeah, I get that idea. But shoot, it's okay to cry sometimes. I don't know when the last time I cried, but it's
those are
okay,
healthy outlets.
Yes, 100%. They're necessary.
Totally.
And then they build different viewpoints of stuff. You have a better understanding of life, I guess you could say.
That's super important for you to allow yourself to feel those emotions. Yeah. Because you can think about it logically as much as you want. You can go ahead and just analyze everything. Yeah. But you have to give your time and allow yourself time to feel those emotions. Yeah. Because you might not be thinking about it, but your body will still feel it.
Oh, 100%. Right. Yes. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, 100%. You just can't fight it sometimes. And like I said, it becomes delusional that you're trying to fight it, you know? What's the movie called? My kids loved it. Is it not Elemental. It's the one with like sadness and joy.
Oh, Inside Out.
Inside Out, right? Well, the first movie, Inside Out Part 1, I guess, it's all about how it's okay to feel sad. Sadness is that every emotion is necessary.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have joy without having sadness. And in that movie, it looks like they're going at it like, oh, they don't mesh well. No, you can't have joy without sadness. You can't have sadness without joy. You know, so that's kind of the same idea. You know, you have to go through some of these struggles, and you have to have some of these down days to be able to appreciate the good days. They say sometimes, again, there's another interview. I'm horrible with celebrity names, but there's another interview where somebody said like, I though it was sad and it was horrible, I appreciate experiencing what I did when my mother passed or something like that. And then the other guy who also had his mother who had passed was crying. He's like, do you really mean that? And he's like, yeah. He's like, how can I not appreciate her presence if there wasn't ultimately this loss at the end? You know what I mean? Or her importance or whatnot. So I think that's with everything, even the daily mundane things, you know.
It's a privilege to feel that pain.
Yes, 100%. And that's I think that's the most powerful way to look at opportunities or anything, even the littlest opportunities. Like going back, like if there's, I always say, like, I don't talk about social issues. I talk about social opportunities, local opportunities. You know, there's some videos I did that maybe some people were like, hey, you know, one part of Patterson's like, hey, thank you so much for doing this video, making us aware. Another part's like, hey, shh, we don't talk about that. But there are opportunities. We have to focus on opportunities. And same thing with in life. You know, sometimes there's opportunities that you're like, hey, maybe I do need to focus on this. Maybe it's me going to the gym. It's an opportunity. Okay, I do need to get a little bit more healthier, you know, or how you run your house, your finances, your career, anything like that, you know. So
thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared so far. Switching gears a little bit.
Yeah.
We talked about the struggles that you faced growing up, but now people see you as someone with a real voice in Patterson. So let's talk a little bit about who Marco is today.
Yeah.
So when you first started posting on Instagram and TikTok, did you ever imagine that it would grow into what it is now?
No, you know, and this has only been the past couple months. So how it all started is, like I said, early on when TikTok's early years, I made a TikTok account, and back then it was like it was such a new thing that it was very easy to start climbing followers. I went all the way up to 8,000 followers at one point. Then somebody made a comment like, hey, why are you on TikTok, dude? That's for kids, you know. So I deleted the app, but I always had the account, right? Then maybe just a few months ago, me and two coworkers at work, we were talking. They're like, dude, just do it. You have the personality. Just make some stuff, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, you know, I think you could actually make an income from it, so on and so on. I actually was already approved for like TikTok shop affiliate type thing where you could like sell things on there. I was like,
that's after 5,000, right?
Yeah. So I was like, let me play with it. And it was more like a financial thing, not like a social like I want to make a difference in Patterson. It kind of led to that, which I'll get to in a moment. But so I started posting more, and every day I was posting something. I read something that said, or I saw something that said, nobody reads anything. I saw a TikTok that said, you have to be okay with your video being 60% okay. You have to be fine with posting a video that's 60% okay. When you try to make it perfect, those videos flop, and you're putting too much, and it's not sustainable. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Some decent videos, I'll just post. And now, again, they're just random stuff to get reactions and stuff like that. One video I did, I was just talking about how Miss Rachel came out with a potty video, and how, hey, Miss Rachel, how about we do a video about folding your clothes and stuff like that. Silly little rant. The lighting was horrible. I didn't put any title on top of it. I don't think that video is now at 2.5 million views. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, let me do more of that, you know? Then I did a video about my commute. And I had like the maps up, and I was like, this is the Bay Area, this is the Valley, this commute, blah blah blah. This is Tracy Hills. And here's a little hack. You want that Tracy Hills, but don't have Tracy Hills money? There's a community in Patterson. It's like a mini Tracy Hills. So I got ripped apart, right? Because then you have the Bay Area, like who would commute, blah blah, this and that, and people are like, I love Patterson, yeah, so and so on. And I was like, whoa, hold on, my video just kind of the algorithm kind of shot it locally. Okay. Let me make another video about Central Valley. Okay. Let me make another video about Patterson. Okay. Then I think and big shout out to Patterson Neighborhood Watch Instagram page for, you know, connecting us. So I appreciate them. But they had posted something a long time ago, and it was like a list of all these new developments that got approved. I was like, oh, let me look into it. Right. And I was like, oh my God, this one's going to get approved like 5 minutes from my house. Let me go run in the field and talk about this one getting approved. And then that one did like big numbers, like 50,000 views. And then I got a tripod. My wife bought me a tripod. I came home. She's like, there's a gift for you. It's a tripod. I was like, oh my God, you support me. She recently just got me a Harry Potter calendar so I could start, because these bookings are getting a little crazy, right? So she supports me on that. But I got my tripod and I started standing in the field and kind of diving in deeper. I was like, okay, well, I got to make sure people are asking questions. I have to make sure I give some extra information, not just like the title of like, hey, they're building new stores out here, you know? And it made me do some more research and partner with people and whatnot. And then that video hit like 150. Like I think one video recently just hit 100,000 views from one of the first videos. I had a video that overnight like hit 180,000 views, and they were all local stuff. And then people enter the comments and they ask for different things, and you're like, okay, so you start creating a niche, and then the niche just became community. And I've always been super involved, you know. It's kind of like apples and oranges, but when I lived in my HOA community, I was the president of the HOA, you know what I mean? So I was really big, like if I'm going to live here, I need to be involved. I can't just leave the decisions up to so that's why I get really involved in like going to city council meetings or planning commission meetings. Planning commission meetings I get super excited about because there's always new developments going on, or else they don't have a meeting, right? And so being able to share that information, and then also being involved to be like, hey, but are you focusing on this? But are you considering this? Or like, hey, this big company's coming. This is an opportunity to them to provide to the thing. Or like, hey, that's not enough jobs. Or hey, can you guarantee more jobs? Or, you know, luckily everything has been in a positive light. But what if a crazy company tried to step in? You know, I want to be like, hey, no, this is like, you're going to build a factory right behind my house? Hold on, wait a minute, you know? So it's very important to get involved in that. So through that just came to more social and community involvement. Then I have businesses that reach out to me and I learn about their business. And then I meet this person that introduces me to this person, introduces me to this person. Then I always like to say I don't owe anybody anything. If I wanted to stop this right now, I could, you know, and then nobody has given me anything where I feel like, oh, I have to continue to do this, right? I enjoy doing it, and that's why I continue to do it. And I genuinely I consider the best interest of our community and whatnot. And that's why I want to make sure that the information I share is accurate and valid and unbiased, you know? But I don't owe anybody anything. However, there is a sense of, and this is only, I feel this because I know I'm putting this on myself, obligation to continue to make these videos, because the community looks at me as an outlet, or they look at me to get information or anything like that, where I feel like, okay, I need to do this because people are relying on me. I had somebody that approached me yesterday at Walmart. It's kind of become like a regular occurrence, you know. But this one was different. So my analytics say I have an audience from 25 to 45 years old, right? And those are more, you could say those are like the established community members, right? So anything younger than that, I'm like, these kids don't know me. It was a group of kids. It looks like they just got off a soccer practice or something like that. And I'm walking by, I'm looking for like toys to like surprise my kids with, and I hear, Marco. And I turn around, you just see a head poke up behind like something, and then go back down. And then it was nothing. And then I kept on walking, like, Marco. And then somebody came up to me. He was like, in a nutshell, he's basically saying like, hey, you motivate me, or you inspire me, or something like that. And it seemed like this kid also had like a speech impediment as well. And I was like, oh, he must have seen that video. Then we took a photo and whatnot, and then they're laughing, and, you know, like, he's nervous laughing. I was like, oh, maybe they're trolling me, you know?
It's like, this guy thinks he's famous.
I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, a part of me, I was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, wait a minute.
You guys playing a prank on me?
Yeah, I told them, I said, make sure you guys don't write on my face or anything like that. They're like, oh, no. But it was such an awesome moment where I was like, okay, if I'm doing something and it means something, and look, now this, let's say it was genuine, right? Yeah. This young gentleman went and wanted a photo with me. What a huge deal that is, right? Wanted a photo with me. I need to make that mean something. I need to do something where in 5 years, in 10 years, this guy could repost this photo and be like, look who I met at Walmart 5 years ago, you know? If I stop making videos right now, he just took a picture with a random guy in Walmart. You know what I mean? So there's a self-inflicting obligation I feel like I'm doing now. But that's kind of how I fell into the social, like, just posting on TikTok and Instagram, and whatnot. And as of this morning, we hit over 3,000 followers on Instagram, which is honestly more valuable than my almost 14,000 followers on TikTok, for multiple reasons. Patterson only has 25,000, roughly 26,000 community members. So to have nearly 16,000 of them following me is some good numbers right now, good percentages, you know. In addition, Instagram followers are kind of worth more than TikTok followers, in the sense of there's a lot of people that just make TikToks and swipe. Instagram is almost like a cross between TikTok and Facebook, where those are more interactive, that I could genuinely see each one of those followers are actual people behind it, actual community members behind it. So that's why hitting those 3,000 is a really big deal for the page. But yeah, that's kind of how it all came to be. And now I enjoy it. Now I'm falling into some obligations where it's like I'm scheduling people to go and we're going to sit. Like I said, I have this podcast. I have another one on Monday. I'm a guest speaker on Tuesday. I have another, I can't talk about it too much, but a very exciting meeting in a week or so with another, we'll say, big figure in the San Joaquin Valley, or I'm sorry, the Stanislaus Valley. And so we have obligations with those now, where it's becoming a thing. I don't want to call it a job, because I enjoy it more than I enjoy my job sometimes. Don't cut that. But there's a level of obligation to it now, and so that's why I continue to do it, and I enjoy doing it. So that's the support for it.
Now, you saying it's an obligation just shows how serious you are about this. That it's not so much an obligation, but you're taking responsibility and accountability for the things that are going on in your videos, and you feel like there is a level of expectation that you need to meet a standard that you want to meet for not only for like the kid that you saw that took a picture with you, but to the other community members that haven't even interacted with you yet. And I like so when I was taking a look at your Instagram page, I noticed that you've been filming for a while. And like even some of your earliest videos, you were like a mixologist.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yes. I saw those videos up. Yes, that was COVID times. Yeah, those were great. Those were super fun. Yeah.
So I'm sure that you've gone through many niches, many categories of videos. You failed many times, or as maybe you would say, you've taken a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
What are some of those unseen videos that we can't see right now that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I mean, I've been dabbling with the camera for the longest time, right? Me and my wife went through that little vlog era where we were making vlogs, you know. The mixology videos during COVID, you know, I was lucky I was able to still stay employed, but of course we were working from home. But my wife, her job required her to still go into office, so I was all alone, like 8 hours a day at least, you know. So put the camera on, and I was like, you know what? At that time, I think there was a statistic went out where it said something about like everybody's drinking right now, you know? So I was like, hey, I love me a good drink. Let's make some things. And the thing is, I'm not a licensed mixologist. I'm not a bartender. I have no history on it. Where the videos, I would literally say like, hey guys, I looked this recipe up. I bought this stuff. We're going to figure it out together. And as I'm doing, I'm talking and interacting with the people. And I used to go live then too. And everybody was at home. So those lives were super popping, you know? And I would do a live version of it too. Oh, it was so much fun. Then people went back to work and it died out, you know? And I'm trying to think, there's probably so much stuff. There's probably stuff on my TikTok that I've since deleted or I cleaned up or anything like that. You know, I would make just random videos. I've always liked to see myself on camera. I always love to be in front of the camera. And again, that's something that I was made to feel silly about. Like, oh, Marco, you're so egotistical. You're so, you know, you just love to see yourself on the camera. It's a superpower. And because of that, and thank you to the community support for for reassuring me and giving me this positive feedback where I'm like, it helps the confidence. I shouldn't rely on that, and I don't rely on that, but it does help to know that people are enjoying what I'm doing or appreciate what I'm doing. I get messages all day long about like, hey, I just want to let you know I appreciate what you're doing. You're so informative, or I appreciate where you're speaking on these topics, or thank you so much for being information, or thank you so much for helping me with this video or whatnot. And it makes me feel good, and it's a superpower. It's like if somebody's a doctor or EMT or something like that, and they're on a plane and somebody else, so we need a doctor, we need somebody, right? That person's not on the clock. Are they obligated to raise their hand and be like, oh, I could help them? No. But there's a level of obligation. They feel like, let me use my knowledge. I'm the only one that has this knowledge to help this person that needs help, right? Same thing with my voice. Not everybody is comfortable with speaking up. Not everybody is comfortable with going to the council meetings and going to the podium. Not everybody is comfortable with going in front of the camera and talking about these new developments, or talking about water quality, or talking about Diablo Grande water crisis, or anything like that. People aren't they want to, but they physically can't. And I can, and I'm willing to. Let me help out the community. Let me help out these voices that are there but just can't bring themselves to speak up or anything like that. Tell me, I'll do it. I don't mind. I like I said, I was always the one that, like, if we're at a meeting, any kind of meeting, right, and somebody whispers like, yeah, but what about this? I'll be like, do you want me to bring it up? And they're like, no, I don't want to say it. I'll do it. Don't worry. Hey, how about this? You know what I mean? I just because I've always felt comfortable to do so. Let me use my superpower. You know, let me use my talent. It goes right up there. Like I said, it goes right up there. I can't sing. I can't maybe shoot a 3-pointer. There's a video I did, and I was shooting a 3-pointer or something like that. That was like the 4th try.
It's like, well, first.
Yeah, I know. Whoa, look at us. Everybody's like, how many times did it take you? I was like, it took 3. You know, but this is my superpower. So I want to use it, and I want to use it for good. And yeah, that's the idea behind it.
That's so cool that you found your area of expertise, essentially, right? And I've noticed that over time, I mean, if you do something enough times, you're going to get better at it. You can't get worse at it. I mean, I think maybe you can.
Yeah, I guess so.
But you haven't.
Yeah.
So I've noticed, like I'm a very technical person, so I like to look at angles. I like to look at lighting.
Yeah.
Your videos have gotten better and better each
Yeah,
and every time.
there's some strategy behind it now. Yeah.
You want to dive into some of your, let's see, creative process?
Yeah. So, you know, a couple things I consider, right? Time of day, because of the lighting.
Golden hour.
You know, some people are like, oh, let's do it in the middle of the day. There's so much light. I was like, no, then there's the shadow over just my face. You know, so there's things to be strategic about. It's very important to have good audio, right? So I invested in a DJI mic and stuff like that. It's more engaging. Sometimes it's more engaging to still use a raw iPhone camera, you know, because if you, sometimes I have higher quality videos and I try to even still make that raw, but when you do too much editing or too much special effects or too high quality of camera, you're going into a different niche. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to be relatable. My whole idea is my brand, and I'm true to my brand, is that I'm just your neighbor. People are like, oh, you're gonna run for city councilor, you want to be the mayor, or you're trying to be a marketer. No, I'm just trying to be your neighbor. I'm just trying to I'm a neighbor, and I got some knowledge, and look at me and my videos is me enjoying a beer in my garage, and you come out to your garage and we're just yapping. You know, that's the idea behind it. And we'll be like, hey, you heard about the new Amazon warehouse that they're building? Hey, did you know they have this community event that's happening? You know, things like that. That's the idea. So keeping it still bite-sized and engageable, right? If you over edit or over put too much high quality, I think that's odd to say, but
you become a journalist at that point.
Yeah, and
it's
commercialized.
Like the local cheese mall.
Yes,
right?
Yes, exactly. It's like it's unrelatable. People, it becomes over commercialized, right? People look, this is a high quality video, swipe, it's another ad. You know what I mean? No. You're talking to Marco, and I'm just talking. It's as if we're FaceTiming, you know. But there are things like having good audio, having good lighting, so golden hour, standing in certain areas, getting a proper engaging backdrop. You know, like I did a video like on the side of City Hall. I wanted to be in front of City Hall, but the lighting wasn't there, so I had to go on the side of City Hall. Me and my buddy, when he comes out and supports me and helps me with these videos, we get the drone shots, because sometimes it's just cool to see a different angle, something engaged, switching it up, whatever I'm talking about, plugging a photo of what I'm talking about in there, you know, so people know what I'm talking about. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people try to act like they're higher up than anybody else and speak in a way that's like hard, like almost in code. It's like, dude, that's not the audience. Why are you speaking so
corporate speak?
Yeah, break it down. And that's what I do. I feel like I'm educated enough where I could understand, or I'm comfortable with asking questions. There's times I'm in the planning commission meeting and I have somebody that I rely on, then I'll lean back to him and be like, hey, they're talking about this right here, right? Okay, what do they mean by that? Is it necessary? Oh, okay. And I build a better understanding. And so when I go up and I could speak, or when I explain it to the community, it's more in a bite-sized way. We're all busy. We need to know within 2 minutes flat, if not 30 seconds, tell me what's going on in Patterson. Swipe, done. You know, I don't need to over-explain things or talk about technical things. These meetings are long sometimes, but I need to fit it all in a short bite-sized thing. And now if anybody else is interested deeper, wants more information, then they're able to look into it in a deeper way as well. But nonetheless, that's the idea with that, you know, having good audio, knowing when it's time to bring out the iPhone or a higher quality camera, getting the drone shot, finding out the proper information that's needed, or the consumable information that's needed, and going from there with that. But yeah, before it was just me talking into my phone using the audio from the iPhone, and since then we've kind of grown a little bit. Yeah.
How do you feel about, I know at first it's weird, but when you're setting up that tripod in a parking lot somewhere,
Yeah.
and people are driving by, like,
Yeah.
what's this guy doing?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I think people recognize you enough now to like, oh, he's making another video.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
before,
yeah.
it was like, who does this guy think he is?
Yeah, I think the first time I did it, I'm sure I was getting like people were like, "What's going on?" Or this guy's gonna start dancing in the camera or something like that, you know. But yeah, there are times where like multiple times that I'll be setting up the camera, and I'll be talking in the camera, and then somebody pulls up on me. It's kind of scary. They pull up on me, roll down the windows. I'm like, oh, and they're like, "We love your videos." Or one time somebody pulled up and they're like, "Hey," and I'm like, hey, I hate to assume like, hey, you're I don't know you, so you must know me from my social media. I hate to assume that, so I wait for them to bring it up, but sometimes it doesn't come across that, and I'm like, hey, how can I help you? Hey, I just want to say thank you so much for your videos. Like, oh, thank you so much. My whole mannerisms change, So yeah, so I do know I have to acknowledge people do recognize me when I am recording on the side of the road and stuff like that. I'll have people honking. Or one time I was recording a video talking about the Del Puerto Healthcare District, and somebody drove by and they honked, and they're like, their whole body was sticking out of the car window, and they're like, have a thumbs up, and I'm like, hey, so yes, no, but there were times early on where I was like, okay, people are driving by. The idea where people say like, oh, just imagine everybody in their underwear and you feel more confident. It's kind of like that. Just imagine that nobody knows what the heck you're doing. They're all invisible. They don't know what you're doing. You're just another guy on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. They're driving by you for 1 second. Ignore them. And so that's how I started doing it. Now I don't mind. I've gotten so much positive feedback where I don't mind if somebody honks or notices me or records me. Somebody was like, I was going to take a picture of you, but I thought that was weird. I was like, I'm on the side of the road talking next to a McDonald's sign. I'm already weird. Don't worry about being weird, But yeah, so there was a level of confidence I had to overcome to ignore it. I had the pleasure of listening in person to Will Guidara, a public speaker, at a work conference, and he said, somebody asked him, like, how do you speak so good in front of people, public speaking? Like, oh my God, it's such a nerve-wracking thing. He was like, it's not about how I feel. When I'm speaking to people, it's not about how I feel. It's about how I'm making the audience feel.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not doing public speaking where I'm in front of everybody. Well, I will on Tuesday, but where I'm face to face with my audience, it's through the camera. But I keep in mind, it's not about how I feel right now. Mm-hmm. It's about how I am portraying my message into the camera, and how I'm making the audience feel,
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I heard this from a speech coach. And she said the same thing. She was like, it's not about you.
Yeah.
Get out of your head that it's about you. It's about your audience. It's about what you want to convey to the audience. Yes. What you want them to learn, what you want them to leave with. Yes. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. And it gives you a different perspective, and it adds
it switches your brain into being like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
You do get out of your head.
Yeah. Like, oh, I'm nervous. Dude, it's not about you. Yeah. You have 30 people in the audience right now. They want to see you. Have thousands of people watching you. They need this information. It's not about you right now. Right. You know what I mean? Do what you need to do to shake it off, and it adds nobility to what we're doing, right? It adds nobility to us sitting here. It adds nobility to me talking in the camera. Oh, Marco, you're just talking to a camera. Well, it's a noble job. I'm not saving lives, but maybe I'm making people's lives better, or maybe I'm adding entertainment, or maybe people get home and they look forward to, like, let me click on Marco's page, let me see if he posted something new. It's about them. It's not about me.
And so, I mean, we're talking about all the cool stuff that comes with social media, right? But what about some of the more negative things that, like, I mean, I'm sure you get negative comments.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you get DMs, I'm pretty sure you're getting some negative ones too, right?
Yeah.
So how do you handle that?
So when I started posting on TikTok, you have some negative comments here and there. You just ignore them. I literally don't acknowledge them. I won't even like them. I try my best to acknowledge everybody who puts a comment on my videos. I'll respond to them either with an emoji or actually responding, liking every comment. It's something that I pride myself with doing. The negative ones I just don't respond to. My audience is passionate. Somebody else will respond for me. You know what I mean? And then going on to social media, it's funny. I had to talk with my family and say, hey guys, I'm starting to post my TikTok videos on Instagram now. And obviously before that, my Instagram was used for family and friends, right? I said, people are going to comment mean things. Just let them. Just don't respond to them. Just leave them, let them be, Bad interaction is still interaction, right now? I was like, just let it be, right? And then I know I'm going to start posting more on Facebook now too, but I know some people took my videos and threw them on Facebook, like links on Facebook. Facebook, that's a whole nother monster of
It's a whole different ballgame.
Yes, people will investigate the videos. Like I said, I think one of my videos went up when I first talked about the Del Puerto Healthcare District. Early on, I didn't have too much information. I actually shared not the wrong information. I just didn't clarify some things, I guess. And I was ignorant to the information until I was able to sit down with the CEO later on. But people ripped me apart. Oh my God. And there's like passive aggressive comments on there. Passive aggressive comments by people of like big power, you know what I mean? Where I didn't know who they were and I kind of ignored it. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Where I was like, later on, somebody else that, you know, has been like an ally of mine here in town was like, hey, you know, that person is this person. I was like, really? That's unfortunate, because if they would have taken the opportunity to reach out to me to clarify this information, it would have been a video opportunity right now. And what am I doing but promoting your project? You know what I mean? And I think since then, a lot of people of influence in the community have been doing so. They've been reaching out to me. I sat down with some exciting people and gotten some information and learning what I could do for them. And I've been able to raise my concerns. You know, if I'm raising a concern or opportunity in the public eye, it's because I feel more obligated to do so for the community to make them informed, or I'm doing so in an unbiased way. You know, basically say, that's not my opinion. I'm just stating the facts, and it's up to you to make your opinion. However, before I do that, I get clarification first. So, hey, tell me about this aspect. You know, I'm optimistic, but I'm also very skeptical when people tell me something I want to hear or they think I want to hear. I was like, but how is that possible? Or how do you do that? But what about this area right here on the map, you know? And learning about that and giving them the opportunity to clarify before I post the information. And sometimes it's like, hey, can I share this? And they're like, not yet, because it's going to ruin this. Okay, we'll wait. But the information is going to come out. It's going to be shared, but we're going to do it in good lighting, and we're going to let the community decide if it's something that's a concern or not. You know what I mean? So collaboration is a big thing of what I'm doing now. Is literally collaboration in the sense of collaborating with different social media pages, but in the sense of collaborating with the people that are in charge of these things. There's actual humans behind a lot of these projects, and I want to be able to partner with them directly to make sure I'm getting my information. A lot of my information now isn't coming from online. It's coming from the source, which is something I'm extremely proud of, and I wouldn't have been able to do without the support that I got from social media.
And I'm glad you're doing that, because we're big on that here. You know, you don't want to be hit with a cease and desist
Oh,
letter.
I know. Exactly. Yeah.
So definitely, I'm glad to hear you say that you take pride into, you know, what you say and what you speak of, and go to the source. So.
Yeah, it's important. And now it's like part of my reputation, right? If what good are my videos if the information is not accurate, you know?
Correct.
So.
It sounds like the future's bright and exciting.
Hopefully, yeah.
So as we reach the end of our episode, I'd like for you to give some advice to our listeners.
Yeah.
Maybe some self-reflection a little bit. So like one of the questions I have for you is, if you could go back and talk to your younger self, what would you tell him? What advice would you give him?
You know, I always say it's not good to think in a way of going back and saying like, oh, I wish I would have done this differently, because all the decisions and all the things that have happened to me for up to this point is what led me to this exact point right here. Yeah. So, but on a positive note, I would have said, keep posting on TikTok. Keep doing what you enjoy doing, you know? And I think there is times to pause some things. Maybe I was focusing on my career to create a good foundation that now I'm able to do these videos because I'm established at home, where I could do these videos and I'm not reliant and I can't be compromised, right? I do this promotions, but I don't need like, hey, I'll say this and I'll do this if you pay me this. No, I don't. I'm lucky to say I don't need a financial benefit from this TikTok thing or this Instagram thing. I'm doing it just for fun. Or if I was reliant on this, I would have had to, you know, maybe my TikTok would just be TikTok shop affiliate stuff, you know, and not too impactful. So I don't want to say to don't do what you're doing now, Marco, and you should be focusing on TikTok back then, you know. No, do what you're doing, but still make time for what you enjoy. There should be vacations in your 5-year plan. You know what I mean? So there's that. So that's one thing I would tell myself, is just don't feel silly. Don't let people make you feel silly for what you're doing. If this is genuinely your passion and what you enjoy, do it. Do it. Don't stop doing it, you know?
What do you wish more people would understand about the impact that they can make even with a small platform, even in a small community like Patterson?
Yeah. You know, first off, people think, oh, I don't have enough followers, I don't have an audience. I have 3,000 followers on Instagram now, over 3,000 followers. Woo woo. Yeah. but my videos consistently get 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, all the way to almost 200,000 views. The amount of followers doesn't directly correlate with the amount of views, you know? Same thing on TikTok. I have almost 14,000 followers. Well, sometimes my videos don't even touch 3,000 views, but sometimes they touch 2.4 million views. You know what I mean? So you don't need an audience. The algorithm and the social media platform will find the audience for you. You know, there's things you could do to help it navigate, but it'll find it for you. That just begin. The hardest part is starting. Just like with anything else, the hardest part is start, and then it'll find itself. A couple months ago, nobody knew who I was in Patterson. I was like kind of under the radar. Now I get stopped at Walmart, you know? I wish I could say I get stopped at other places. We only really got a Walmart right now. But, you know, there's just starting and the audience will find you. If you build it, they will come type idea. You know what I mean? So.
And just like Gabby said, I mean, you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for the audience.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the impact is that you're doing it for them.
Yeah.
Right. You're serving the community in whatever way you can. And in your sense, it's videos.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And one of our last questions, if you could leave the community with one message, what would it be?
Get involved. And getting involved doesn't mean you have to get involved to an extreme level. Just be present and be aware, you know? Development and change is coming to Patterson. It's already here. This is not the same Patterson that was probably here 15 years ago, and it's not going to be the same in 15 years from now. And we're in a really lucky spot with the community that development, a lot of stuff is happening now. In order for us to get what we want, regardless on what idea you have, is everything needs to grow at the same time, and we have to allow it to grow. And we have to understand the backstory behind it. We need more homes. We need more families. We need more jobs. We need more warehouses. Yes, we do need a Costco. We would love a Costco and a Target, but those companies are private companies. That has nothing to do with the city. That has to do with how appeasing are we making the community for those companies to come.
Population.
Yeah, numbers. So all these things need to grow. You want a bigger school? Well, we need more students. You know, I know that's a whole other thing, but there's so many things we need to do to help it grow.
It's a community effort.
It's a community effort. You need to be involved to make sure that is there. One reason why I go to these planning commission meetings, because I want to make sure there's still palm trees. I like palm trees. You know, every building should have X amount of palm trees, you know, added to it. You know, little things like that. You know, we want more sit down restaurants. Okay, well maybe we need to learn some things. Okay, we have this backing, this support. Let's now partner with the private business owner to say, hey, come to Patterson. This is a good idea. That's like the same story with the old water office, right? The city didn't say, hey, we want an old water office here. You know, no, it was private individuals that saw value in the community because of whatever reason.
Very surprising too.
Yes, that's a very expensive restaurant. If you guys seen my videos on with Bob Campana on that one, amazing restaurant.
Worth every dollar.
Oh, 100%. And it's a place that is going to be a staple in Patterson. 100%. Yeah, it's a gem of the valley right now. You know,
it really is. Even when they were out there in where were they at Modesto?
Yeah,
they're right off of Dale. Right?
Yeah. And he just posted a video of, you know, how they're moving to Lathrop, and he posted a video on that just yesterday. Oh my God, it's a big project. It's so exciting. But to know that there's going to be that one, and here people are going to go to that restaurant because they just remember the Redwood Cafe, and now they're going to be like, you know, there's more in Patterson. Like I said, nonetheless, be involved, let your voice get heard, and be aware of what's going on. The meetings aren't scary, but look, if you don't want to go to the meetings, you don't know how to find this information, just follow Marco on TikTok and Instagram, and I'll post about it. That's why I'm here. You know,
go ahead and share your handles with us. I'll post them on screen.
Well, if you look me up on TikTok or on Instagram, Marco Keeps Yapping is always the title. There's Marco.xcvi and Marco_xcvi, both of the official handles. I am verified on Instagram, so you'll see the check mark on there as well. But yeah, give those a follow, comment. Share the videos, do whatever, message me. I now have a email, marcokeepsyapping@gmail.com. Thank you, wife, for putting that together for me. But so you can reach out to there if you want to partner with me on more of a professional level. But I'm always in my DMs. I'm always messaging people back. Like I said, I'm just your neighbor. I just happen to also make videos on Instagram too.
Well, thank you for giving back to your community.
Thank you so
and
much. I
for
appreciate you guys having me. Yeah.
Sure.
Anything else you'd like to add, Gabby?
No, that's all. Big thank you. Appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
You know, hang in there. And
Yeah.
and
We'll
just
see more of you.
We'll see more of you.
Yes, hopefully. I know. There'll be a video every single day. So
We're gonna put
if you
to
miss
work.
me, just go on Instagram and TikTok.
I gotta
yeah.
figure out what district you are because we're gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah,
So
that'll
you're
be
gonna have
really
to run
fun.
for city council.
Yeah.
There you go. All
So
right,
thank
we'll
you.
close this out.
Awesome.
So, to everyone listening at home, Marco's story is proof that the things we see as weaknesses can one day become our greatest strengths. If you're listening right now and struggling with something that you think is holding you back, remember, it might just be the very thing that shapes your purpose. Choose kindness, choose resilience, and keep moving forward. Marco, thank you for coming here and being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
We learned so much about being positive and the power of positivity, how you can overcome challenges by just being almost delusional.
Yeah.
So this has been the Kindness Not Podcast. We hope that at least one of you resonated with this conversation. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and reach out to us on Instagram for any information about our organization. And above all else, be kind. Thank you for listening.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
All right, we're all set.